Ladies, good morning. Happy International Women's Day.
And
is it happy, Rudo and Melinda? Is it happy? What do we have to be happy about this morning? What are the promises that were made to us, and where are we in achieving those or seeing those come to fruition?
I think we are happy that we have the opportunity to highlight the issues. We're happy that we can say promises have been made, but we are sad and disappointed that there hasn't been real meaningful action, because promises were made that through achieving Sustainable Development Goal number 5, we would achieve gender equality by 2030. But we know today that at the pace of progress, it will take 108 years before we can actually achieve gender equality in all its fullness on the different spectrums. It's about girls in schools, about women accessing health services, it's about women getting financing so that they can be economically empowered. It's about women being free from gender-based violence. We are behind on different aspects of gender equality across the globe, and particularly on the continent. Hence, inviting activists to come together and co-author a letter that says we're not going to get there at this current pace.
So who or what continues to hold us back?
What holds us back is that commitments are made, promises are made, but they do not translate into practice, into money in the bank, so that it can fund the initiatives that will get girls into school, that will get health access for women who are the greatest numbers of those who show up at primary health care services. It is still women who are predominantly more affected by HIV and AIDS and the pandemic. New infection rates are higher among adolescent girls. And HIV and AIDS is the leading cause of women under 50. So we're still not making enough progress, although promises have been made, and we're not allocating enough, targeted enough at women and their current reality, so that we can pull them up, we can get them on the tables. Politically, participation by women is still very low. Very few governments have even got 30% women in political positions, as members of parliament, as ministers, boards, executives. There are still few women, so we're not empowered, we are not playing at the same level, and sometimes even our voices are not being heard.
Melinda, let's bring it home. Let's bring it to South Africa. We're seen as a leader on the continent when it comes to these, when it comes to many things. How do we fail? Where are we? Who's holding us back here specifically in South Africa?
Well, the situation in South Africa still remains quite dire. We are not progressive at all. There's no progressive legislation in place that promotes the issues of women, that promotes gender equality. In fact, South Africa has the highest gender-based violence statistics in the world. And also with regards to the rape and the murder of girl children. So that should tell you something. What is very saddening for me as a human rights activist is the fact that we live in a constitutional democracy, and specifically with the Bill of Rights that affords people human rights. Gender inequality, and I'll say gender inequality because we're far from saying gender equality, cuts across all the pertinent human rights issues. The issue of human dignity, the issue of privacy, the issue of education, health, and women's rights are being violated across all those sectors every day. And yet nothing is being done.
How aware are women, I'll start because you work in the South African continent, how aware are they of their rights and what they could be fighting for? Do they even know? Are we just very accepting? Are we becoming our own worst enemies in this?
Brilliant question. That is exactly the problem at ground level. That is the problem at grassroots level. You will go to people, they don't even know what the concept of democracy means. They don't even know that we have a constitution, let alone human rights. So how would they know what their rights are? How will they know how to enforce their rights if people like me in civil society organizations don't come there and educate them and tell them, you have a right to dignity. You have a right to be treated equally. How do we enforce it? The voices of women at grassroots level is not being heard. We are not reaching those women, and it's mostly those women in poor communities that fall victim to gender abuse at the highest scale.
And just looking at the rest of the continent, Rudo, you say we want to get the attention of leaders. And I mean, leaders in Africa, I mean, just looking at what our leaders are doing, those who are 70, 80 years old, wanting a third, fourth, fifth term just to serve their own interests, where do you even begin? Are they even listening on the continent? And I'm sure that's no easy task to get them to listen. We look at, what's happened to girls in Nigeria. We look at everywhere else. We look at, female circumcision. All of those things we've been banging on about for decades, and seems to be falling on deaf ears. And I wonder how much joy you're actually going to get.
I believe that there are pockets of hope. Rwanda is a country where the participation of women at the political level is highest across the continent and probably the world over. So there are leaders who are willing to listen and who recognize that women can contribute and do contribute. We just need to give them the space to do it. Recently, the Nigerian government, actually under Buhari in his previous administration, agreed that they would increase the expenditure going towards health. And we know that women are the primary consumers of health services and the primary healthcare services. Now we are going to be monitoring and checking whether those commitments will actually result in money being dispersed, whether the increase will be seen and will get to the last mile, so that the woman who goes to a healthcare facility can get the Panadol, can get the painkiller, can get the preventative medicine that they need, or can get treatment to malaria. And the issue that continues to be a challenge is reproductive health services, awareness by young women and by older women, and access to services that would help them be able to plan birth and to space them so that they can maintain good health and contribute economically. It's about making sure that there is money for women who want to be in business, who want to engage in small businesses. But also there is still a huge pay gap, and that's across the board, whether here in Africa or in the internationally. We are seeing that women get paid less, and women are more involved in unpaid work, maybe caring for the sick, and they spend more time in unpaid work than their male counterparts. How does society compensate them? How does the social care system... Is
anybody even noticing, is the question?
No, sometimes they don't notice.
All right, well, we're out of time, but I want a very quick answer from you, Melina. Where do women go to actually find out what their rights are? Is there a one-stop shop? How do we get them?
Currently, we actually don't have a lot of those kind of things in place. What I believe needs to be done is the rise of more social, civil society organizations going to communities, doing the education, doing the support, doing the encouragement. And I think that government needs to redirect funding into civil society organizations to do this kind of work. Because that is the only way. Absolutely. Go to the people. That is the answer.
Okay. Thank you, ladies. Thank you very much for your contribution. Let's hope that the women out there this morning have got the message. And that's Melina Rousseau. She's from Women Lead Movement, and an activist, Rudo Kwaramba Kayombo, joining us this morning on International Women's Day.